That's just the enemy kicking his heels up, kicking all that stuff up, trying to fill the atmosphere in front of you with granules of filth that accompanied by the foul smell of fear. Just look around those things. Look around and watch your blinded eyes become clear. Yes, here we are, episode number 105 of the Kingdom Mentor podcast. Passionate and wanting to help you find your voice, share your voice, and even market your voice. So I got a question for you on this episode number 105. As we go forward in our dreams that God has turned the tide, what do you do when static comes along the way? And what do I mean by that? Well, this was highlighted to me last night where for no reason at all, I could have been hungry, I could have been tired, it could have been any of those things, but I just felt the static. And it's really interesting. I don't know how to describe it. And it was funny because my precious husband, who usually cooks, knew I really wanted pizza. So we got some great pizza. It was hot. It was good. And the static was going away. And then I got on my favorite sweatshirt, my sleepies. I mean, it was just, I couldn't describe it. But this is one thing I did think of about static, and what do I mean by it? It's like this. It's this picture that the Lord gave me quite a few years ago. It's like the dust that the enemy kicks up in front of your face, so your vision gets blurred, and all you see is the dust and stuff in front of you. It's like the debris of doubt. It's like the particles of panic where you feel fear start to come in, or it's the sand of severe loss, or it's the grit of grueling pain, physically, mentally, emotionally, or it's the fragments of faith that is lost. I got this picture, like I said, and I remember so specifically, God said, Teresa, that's just the enemy kicking his heels up, kicking all that stuff up, trying to fill the atmosphere in front of you with granules of filth that accompanied by the foul smell of fear. Just look around those things. Look around and watch your blinded eyes become clear. As you know, I went into this year with the declaration, and I still believe it, that God has turned the tide based on Psalm 118 in the Message translation. That God has turned the tide, and this is the year for dreams to start to come true. This is the year of walking in a decade of those dreams. And I went just supercharged with that theme. And never mind that I experienced some, we call this severe static. And then just a few weeks ago, actually about 4, when I fell flat down on my face down the stairs, I landed face first. Nothing missing, nothing broken. I had lost my wallet halfway through the day, found it, nothing was missing, fell down the stairs, nothing was broken. Hallelujah. But I had rug burns where they shouldn't be. My wrist was all bruised but not broken. The ribs, not a baseball size knot. But that's not the purpose of this. I did experience pain, but I want to say this. I experienced trauma in the pain, but I was so determined to not let it become drama seeping into my mind, will, or emotions. I was so determined that it wouldn't be part of the debris, particles, grit, fragments of anything that would block my vision. And how did I do that? I went into this place of just worshiping God. And what's beautiful about that is the power of worship that kept my hope alive, even amidst the pain. But my drive, my will, my mind, my emotions stayed inspired and thrilled. And all I can say is I had a new lesson of dealing with trauma that had to do with physical. So I want to be a testimony, even in the midst of the pain. I found a way to get into a place I don't think I've been before, and that's worshiping God. But what about you? Static. And that was definitely some static. But what is it? What happens to you when you really feel like there's static of going forward? You've laid your dreams out. You've given your hope away. You've started to make declarations, or you are in the declarations. I remember this right away. I don't know if you remember me sharing about what Jesus did last December. Jesus looked at me in my quiet time, and he simply said, "What can I do for you?" Just as he said to the blind man. And the blind man said, "I want to see." So I felt like Jesus was saying, "Teresa, what can I do for you?" Look at this. Jesus healing the blind man. It's Mark 8:22 through 25. Can I just read this real quick? Because there's something really interesting here. I'm in Mark 8:22 through 25. When they arrived at Bethesda, some people brought a blind man to Jesus, and they begged him to touch the man and heal him. Jesus took the blind man by the hand, and he actually, in one version, says, "What can I do for you?" And the blind man says, "I want to see." So Jesus, spitting on the man's eyes, laid his hands on him. I mean, okay, Jesus, go ahead, spit on my eyes, and asked, "Can you see anything now?" The man looked around, and he said, yes. He said, "I see people, but I can't see them very clearly. They look like trees walking around." That's pretty bold to say to Jesus, who's leading this, how do I say it, prophetic everywhere he goes. He's revealing authority by the testimonies. I mean, he's leading with authority, and the man has faith to say, "Hey, this is great, but I can't completely see. They're just like trees." So Jesus is like, okay, what did Jesus do? They looked like trees walking around. Then Jesus placed his hands on the man's eyes again, and his eyes were opened. His sight was completely restored, and he could see everything clearly. Jesus sent him away, saying, "Don't go back into the village on your way home." Don't go back into the village on your way home, probably because people are going to scoff you or whatever. But do you see this? This man had the faith to say, "Hey, Jesus, I can't see clearly." So Jesus lays hands, does some mud on him, and he did not fake the reality that he couldn't see clearly. You don't have to fake the reality of how you feel. Your nervous systems, your emotions is like the nervous system to your reality. It's like you can have faith that supersedes the reality. That's what I love about this man. He had faith to say, "Hey, I can't see real clear. I'm not afraid to tell you, Jesus, but..." So I ask you, how do you get past your static? How do you get past the debris that seems to be flying up in front of you? And like the Lord told me, it's just like the enemy. He's kicking some dust up because there's greatness on the other side of what you see. I feel like I'm talking, if you're listening this far, I feel like you may have had some resistance. You've gone into this year ready to go. You've got your plan out. You've got it written down, and it just feels like no momentum. You feel resistance. What can you do? I think there's a simple 3-step process, and I'm not a big step person, but this was something that I was sharing with our Redeem Your Voice camp of the Kingdom Mentor Academy. We were talking, I was laying down a foundation of 3 pillars of finding your voice or finding your identity, or 3 pillars of rebuilding. We could say 3 pillars to not let the dust cloud your view so you don't move forward. And it was real simple. The step number 1, they all had C. You can get a pen and write it down. But it's like the pillar number 1 was consistent time with him. There's no Hebrew word for presence. So get in front of his face. I like that. There's no, in the Hebrew, there's no actual word. So I think they say it's like FaceTime. So have a little FaceTime with Jesus. Put your phone down, Teresa, and have a little FaceTime with Jesus. I think by entering his presence boldly by faith consistently, you're putting yourself in front of declarations where that debris can't stand. It has to fall down. You're moving forward no matter what you're facing, no matter the static. And in his presence is fullness of joy. In his presence is peace, righteousness, and joy. If you're not feeling any of those things, peace, righteousness, or joy, I always say slap some FRP on it. Focus on it. Bring it into the present. That's F. Okay, that doesn't carry any of those three things. I'm going to face the reality of it. It hurts. It sucks. I don't like it, but get that P into that FRP and bring the presence. Bring a promise. That problem is a possibility for God to move on your behalf to make you a walking testimony where you're going forward and you become breakthrough for other people. That's part of your dream. It's part of your voice. It's part of your identity. So 1, consistently spend time with him. 2, communicate. Remember, I do that. It's only not even just revved up this year, because in December, Jesus says, what can I do for you? And I remember saying, I'm going to dream so big, because Jesus is asking me this. I'm going to dream so big, and it would have to have his help to make all these things happen. I did that in January. Watched my mom have a dream come true, December 27th, at the age of 82, getting remarried. It was her dream. I found out in May of that year, of being able to communicate. Jesus is asking you, what can I do for you? Answer. And just that question, the blind man, hey, I want to see. Okay, I'm not quite seeing yet, so I'm going to have spent so much time with him that I'm not going to be afraid to face reality, because I know I can bring the promises of God into the reality maybe of my circumstances at the moment. So communicate, pray. I could say first one is commune and then communicate. Be able to be honest with God, with your emotions. Don't stuff them. When we stuff our emotions and we're not communicating to God, they become fertile soil for the foul smell of fear, for the fear that the static wants to come up constantly. And then the third thing is connections. Find those who will call out the gold. Find those who will celebrate who you're becoming, not tolerate who they think you should be. Put up some boundaries. You might have to eliminate the toxic connections. Keep it between you and God, and then bring connections that are in agreement with what God's saying over you. If you don't have them in the flesh, pray Psalm 15 in the Passion Translation. Pray for God to bring you those kind of friends. Ask God to bring them to you in person. Or like me, you meet them online through DMs on Instagram to FaceTime to your front door. It's possible. But I believe the connections that speak life. Many in our Kingdom Mentor group, we meet and we connect and we have connections in a Zoom room with 11, 12 showing up last Saturday morning. Find connections. Finally, I had read this unpublished Listen to the Vine Dresser word to the members in the Kingdom Mentor Academy Redeem Your Voice Camp this past weekend, and I feel it's so fitting to put here. I love when the vine dresser, what the vine dresser word is, it's the way he just speaks to me. It's like the vine dresser talking to me as I'm nestling, abiding in the vine. Jesus is the vine, we are the branches. And when static wants to knock you down, you have the privilege. This is what this word's about. The word's about hiding and confiding. When that static wants to just totally mess you up, look around and know you have the privilege to hide and let Jesus confide his whispers in the night. Whispers in the night. Look at this, Psalm 16, verse 7. The way you counsel and correct me makes me praise you more. For your whispers in the night give me wisdom. Just as you, that key is to communicate to him, he all the more wants to communicate to you. So maybe this is a communication. I'm going to read this to you. The declaration is just simply, I can hide and confide in Jesus. Static no more. I'm going to look around the static and look into the face of my vine dresser. So listen to the vine dresser. This is what he's saying to you. I see you. I'm not moved that you feel like you are treading water, even if it seems like foul, stagnant water. It's in this place of being under siege and imprisoned by your troubling trauma, by your static that wants to stop you, that I've really come to you. You have been in a fight for life. Your ravaged mind and out of control emotions have made you feel sucker punched and out for the count. But listen, this is the vine dresser talking to you. But listen, I have turned the tide. This is the year for change and for dreams to come true. Come, my love, and hide yourself under my massive arms. Let me hold you now. I have a simple word for you. Hide yourself in me, and I'll confide to you the deep secrets from my heart that will bring restoration, that will bring hope, that will inspire you to dream again. Let me be the one who captures you by my unfailing love and promises to combat the assault on your identity. Where you see one difficulty after another, I say nothing is too difficult for me. This is your vine dresser. He's talking to you. When the loud sounds of negativity hit your hearts, hit your ears, come to me and let my grace silence, bring healing. When your hopes and dreams are fading, let me breathe life into your soul. When the test of the process wants to take you down, I'm here to bring you joy and hope, even in the fire. It's in this place of hiding yourself, deep in my heart, in me, that I'm able to repair your heart to worship me. In your worship, I can shore up your purpose and your calling. Here is where I can confide to you my greatest plans of prosperity and peace as I restore and rebuild you. Listen, my dear one. I will never abandon you. I will heal you. I will renew your true identity in me. Ask me, and I will confide the greatest secrets with the design and frequencies of successful strategies from heaven for you. Make me the source of your passion and watch my favor rush in like a tidal wave, because he's turned the tide. Make me the source of your passion and watch my favor rush in like a tidal wave, my anointing to break chains binding you, my grace to work in you to accomplish your most unbelievable dream. Allow your joy to be based in my promises, which empower you and help you exceed your wildest dreams. This is your year to come alive and walk in the dreams found deep in your heart. I am here, says the vine dresser, to give you courage, the creativity I've placed in your very DNA. Sing, dance, write, design, build, create, teach, lead. Be you. Boo. Jesus didn't say that. I just added that. I won't leave you in the process, but infuse you more of my spirit into your heart. Keep hope alive as you hide in me. I will come through for you. It's going to be a great year. Stop striving. Start abiding in the vine. Love, the vine dresser. So what do you do in the midst of the static? The enemy's kicking his heels up. Look around. Communicate to God. Spend time with Him consistently. Find connections that will speak life into you. Tune into the Kingdom Mentor Podcast for another episode. Find voices that will speak life over your voice, because you have a voice. And linked to the very DNA of your identity in Him. So you can find your voice, you can share your voice, you can market your voice, you can do the impossible. I feel like Jesus is saying, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? Says Jesus. You can get past the static to go forward in your dreams. The static may be very severe. I don't take that lightly. But I'm holding out hope for you. I'll be a dream carrier to your visions with my prayers. And I'm so glad you listened. And I'm so glad when you share this with a friend. Maybe you know a friend who they just had one static thing after another. Share it on Instagram. Tag me so I know you shared it. Share it on Facebook. Write a review. Share a voice of hope and inspiration to someone who needs to know that God has turned the tide and it's going to be a great year of dreams coming true. I'll talk to you in the next podcast. And until then, you know it. I really do love you. And we're always so honored when you join us for the Kingdom Mentor podcast. Hey, do me a favor and leave a review or share it with a friend. Hey, you can also catch this podcast not only on Apple Podcasts, but on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and if you have an Android, on the Stitcher app. I'll catch you in the next podcast. Until then, you know it. I really do love you.